Imagine the future of sports does not distinguish sex. It distinguishes and sorts people by hormone ratios.
Same weight division, he would annihilate her. That's why we don't let it happen. If you had a gender-neutral Olympics, how many women, biological female women, would win gold medals if it was open to men and women? The answer is literally like they might win one or two.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope all's good wherever you are. In this video, we have Neil deGrasse Tyson, who, to be honest, should just stick to the cosmos and stop talking about the gender ideology stuff. Stay in your lane, brother, because he has some wild takes on men competing in women's sports like golf. And listen, the LPGA, the L stands for ladies, not men. Let's get to the video.
I'm making this up, but imagine that if that were the case. That would be interesting. You get a hormone test, you're in this range, and then you compete against other people with the same range of hormones.
That's ridiculous.
Neil,
that is ridiculous.
No, it's not. I'll tell you why it's not ridiculous.
You're going to give every single person in sport a hormone test.
Hold on. I used to wrestle. And wrestling, there are people who weigh, sorry, I'm using pounds here, 125 pounds, right on up to 240 pounds. They don't wrestle each other. The entire sport separates people so that the contest is interesting.
Yeah.
And so the people of the same weight wrestle each other, and that is the contest.
But if Floyd Mayweather...
I don't know if that's how it will land.
Hang on, Neil. If Floyd Mayweather fought a woman boxer, a female woman boxer, who was the... But you had a little disagreement about this very hot potato issue about the science of trans athletes in women's sport. Let's take a look.
Engage with the idea here. What I'm asking is, Scientific American is saying basically that the reason why an WNBA team can't beat the Lakers is because of societal bias.
What you're saying is not Scientific American says that. An editor for Scientific American says that, who no longer has the job. So don't indict a 170-year-old magazine because somebody...
Okay, this is called Scientific American, and they're printing something
because someone enters the cesspool that is social media and then participates in that exchange. So
why can't you
let's talk about science.
Why can't you just say this is not scientific and Scientific American should do better?
So I have been on this issue for a long time, and I am surprised, given your earlier statement just now about the importance that we have a fact-based society where science is based on reality and everything else. There is there not, I would put it to you, Neil, there is a cold, hard reality about this whole trans issue, which is that I'm sure like you, I absolutely want all trans people to have utter equality and fairness in the way that I do and you do. Absolutely. I've never said anything different. However, not to the point where it erodes women's rights to fairness and equality. And there is clearly a growing unfairness and inequality from the issue of people who are born biologically male, identifying as women and being allowed to compete against biological females, and then beginning increasingly to be quite dominant, to the extent where we saw people winning in the boxing in the Paris Olympics. We've just seen the Footballer of the Year, Women's Footballer of the Year in the UK, voted by the BBC, Barbara Banda from Zambia, also has been banned for sex-related issues in terms of not being allowed to compete in previous tournaments. And so on and so on. The UN just had a big report which said that 900 medals around the world in competitive sport had been deprived from female athletes because trans athletes had won. So I put it to you that you're a scientist. It is clearly an indisputable scientific fact that biological males have a superior power and stamina and lung power and all these other things to biological females, because if they didn't, we would never separate the sexes in sport. The Olympics would be gender neutral, and they're not for a reason. Women wouldn't win anything. So when I hear you try and justify it or say that there's a scientific, and maybe there's not, maybe I'm misquoting you here, but there's some kind of scientific reason why it's fine, I'm like, hang on, Neil, you're Mr. Reality Check. You're Mr. Cold Hard Fact. Surely you can see that this is wrong without it actually having to be transphobic to say that.
Well, so you have me here live on your show. We don't have to comment on other shows. So let's just have this conversation.
Yeah.
So I did my own study of the relative speed of men relative to women in Olympic sports, the world records, from the 100 meters to the 200 meters, the 400, right on up to the marathon. And what I noticed is in every event, on average, men were 10% faster than women, 10% faster. And in events that require strength, that percent was even higher. I forgot what my exact number, it might have been 50% stronger, okay? So across the board, that is the case. So that's not, there's no dispute there. That's just objective truth. So now we have to ask, why do we watch sports at all, okay? And at Friday Night Lights, that's in the United States, that's high school football. Saturday, it's college football. Sunday, it's the NFL. Do you realize, of course, that the worst team ever in the NFL could wipe its ass with the best team ever in college? Why? Because every single player in the NFL was the best person in their college. And so there's no contest between these zones of athletic engagement. But we still like watching college. We don't watch college and say, you know, the Philadelphia Eagles could whip their ass, so let's not watch it. No, we like the equality of the contest and not knowing who would win. That's what makes sports fun. Okay, so if there's a wave of trans women who dominate the sport against other women, all those sports will become less interesting based on how we all watch sports. Even the Super Bowl here in the United States, if it's a blowout by halftime, nobody watches the second half.
Right.
We watch it for the equality of the contest. Okay, so
sounds like you agree
all
with
I'm
me
saying is, like you said, wait, I'm almost done. So what I see is sports is on the frontier of how to handle this frontier of people who are trans. It's on the frontier of how to resolve that. And I'm making this up now. Imagine the future of sports does not distinguish sex. It distinguishes and sorts people by hormone ratios.
Same weight division, he would annihilate her. That's why we don't let it happen. And in fact, in the Paris Olympics, the winner of one of the women's boxing competitions, one of the
Piers,
females
that's not
who
what I was
took her
talking
on.
about.
But my point is that I just think that, if you don't mind me saying, I say this respectfully because I love you, but it just seems to me like you've dug yourself into a slight hole on this issue, and you're trying to get out of it. Now you're suggesting slightly madcap theories, whereas the science to me is obvious. You've already given the best argument I've heard for why we separate the sexes.
Hold on. You misquoted me in this very interview. What I said was the idea of creating categories within a sport, splitting them in the example I gave, which I just made it up, like hormone ratios, is not fundamentally weird compared to dividing wrestlers by weight.
No,
because
it is.
the only reason why you do this is to make an interesting contest.
No, Neil, you're wrong.
And so you said Floyd Mayweather fight. Hold on.
You're
you
wrong.
said Floyd Mayweather.
You're not allowing for
and
the superior male biology when it comes to lung capacity, stamina, to body mass, to muscle mass, all those things. If you just take one criteria of hormones, you're not allowing all that. I'll give an example. Caitlyn Jenner, who obviously... hang on. I'm going to finish my point. Let me finish my point. Caitlyn Jenner was an Olympic male decathlon gold medal winner. Caitlyn is a big golf fan. And when she started playing golf after she transitioned, she was allowed to play off the women's tees, which are 50 yards further than the men's tees. And she quickly realised that she was still smashing it 300 yards down, and obviously was then beating all the women that she played. So she now plays back off the male tees because her biology is that of a man. And I feel that that was the most honest way to deal with it. I also feel that if you want to have a separate category, have a trans category. Or have trans women compete against men, which is their biology. Isn't that the scientific way to resolve this?
I don't have a solution. What I started this section of the conversation by saying that how you handle trans athletes is a frontier in sports that does not yet have a full solution. And so, and I made up an example, like maybe you could divide people by hormones. I don't know if that would work physiologically, but at the end of the day, we watch sporting events because they are competitively interesting. And so something's going to have to get resolved there, and I don't have that solution.
I do.
I do.
You have a trans category, or you have the trans women compete against biological men, which is what they are. And I completely respect trans rights.
That may be, that may be how it settles, but I don't know. But I'm telling you, it's a frontier without a current solution that everybody agrees to. That's all I'm telling you. And I started this by affirming, yes, men are faster and stronger than the average man is stronger and faster too. World-class men are faster and stronger than world-class women. Obviously, there's huge overlap when you come down the rest of the distribution.
The truth is, if you had a gender-neutral Olympics, how many women, biological female women, would win gold medals if it was open to men and women? The answer is literally like they might win one or two.
I'm trying to stay above. You're creating this world that makes great clickbait.
No, I'm not. Honestly, I'm not. No. I honestly, I'm throwing back at you the thing you throw back at other people, which is science. I'm telling you that it's the scientific reality, unless you say otherwise, and I don't think you do, because you've already explained that men have a superior speed and power. I'm not saying
otherwise. I started this.
The science is clear. I
started this by saying it.
But the science is clear, isn't it?
And I'm saying the solution isn't clear, even if the science is. And so that's all. We can debate what could work. I think the world has to figure it out, and maybe they'll figure it out one day. And maybe it is hormone ratios. I don't know. But if it is hormone ratios and we don't compete sexes, we compete by hormones, that's a whole other interesting future of athletics.
Just a quick thought. I'll give you most of my thoughts at the end of the video, but as somebody who's competed in many sports in my life, namely kind of like Neil deGrasse Tyson, I competed in wrestling, I competed in boxing, and this is where the argument on hormones falls off. Even if you could make a case that the rest of the 100 things that men and women have differently don't matter. Okay, let me play devil's advocate here. If you only focused on hormones, when you are a man pretending to be a woman or you're a woman pretending to be a man, you take hormones exogenously, which means you inject them or you take them in the form of a pill. When you do sports, anybody who's competed in any sports where you had to make weight, namely wrestling or boxing, tons of other sports, your hormone levels drop. Which is why they don't allow people to do testosterone replacement therapy, because even if it brings you to the same normal level of testosterone that you would have all day long walking through life, you would have an advantage because when you cut weight, your growth hormone levels go into the shitter, your testosterone hormones go into the shitter. It is much, much easier to cut weight and to perform when you don't have that happen. So even if everything else was equal, which it isn't, the hormone argument is a horrible one because it's not your...
By the way, every Olympics, I pause and think to myself, which of these events can and should not be separated by sex? There are some already that are the case. And the equestrian. The equestrian does not separate men from women.
Equestrian and shooting, I think, also is another one where if they're sitting and shooting, there's no reason.
That I didn't know. Yeah. So I just figured there's some that would be the case. And we can start there and just work our way up. So yeah, it's a frontier. People are thinking about it. Top people are thinking about it, and I'm not going to be the one who will have that solution.
Fair enough.
But at the end, I know when you're watching sports, you want to watch people who have equivalent talent compete. Otherwise, it's not interesting.
Well, you want it to be fair and equal. That's why when there was
advertisers know this.
Yeah, but it's when you have the doping scandal in, say, cycling, because people are using drugs to cheat, it gives them an advantage. It's just wrong because it removes the basic premise of sport that you and I would love, which is it has to be fair and equal. And the moment you lose that,
unless you just allowed everyone to dope, then it would be fair and equal again.
Well, yeah,
there are a lot of ways that can slice.
You know what? In cycling, that's pretty much what happened. I think I interviewed a guy once when I was at CNN who had been like number 42 in the world in cycling, and it turned out he may have been the best cyclist in the world because the other 41 were all cheats.
Real hormones, you're injecting them. Then you would have to allow everybody else to inject hormones to keep their hormone levels normal. And at that point, why not just open the floodgates to everybody just take whatever they want? Let's get back to the video. Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson on this subject, absolute moron. I'm sure he knows a lot about the cosmos. Stick to that. There's hundreds of differences between men and women. One, gametes. Males have XY chromosomes. The differences between men and women that these leftoids don't understand is that they're not just confined to the reproductive system. They can be found everywhere in the bodily system, in every part of the body. A man is a man, down to his bones, down to his cell, down to his DNA, and the same goes for women. It's like that quote that people talk about. If you die and somebody dug you up hundreds and hundreds of years from now and they saw your bones, they would know from your bones if you were a male or a woman, a male or a female. They wouldn't know what your pronouns are or what you affirm your self-perception is. They would just know that you are male or female. We have so many advantages as males when it comes to sport, which is why we separate the sports between men and women. Differences that account for the fact that women have 20% less muscle mass on average than men, 40% less upper body strength, 33% less lower body strength. They got smaller fast-twitch muscle fibers, smaller lungs, smaller hearts, shorter legs, more estrogen, less testosterone. Of course, he's talking about hormones here, which would be injectables. They have a lower capacity to produce oxygen when they exert themselves. This is why these advantages mean that the fastest man in the world will always be faster than the fastest woman in the world. And if the fastest man in the world dies, the next fastest man in the world will still be faster than the fastest woman. You'd have to go through thousands of men before you found one that the fastest woman in the world could beat. Sure, they could beat me. I'm not a skilled runner. The fastest woman in the world will never be faster than the fastest man in the world. It has not happened, and it will never happen. This is why female Olympians, like Piers Morgan talks about, lose every year to the U15 high school kids. They get absolutely smoked because we are not the same. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that thumbs up button for your boy. Consider subscribing to the channel. Help it grow. Catch you all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.